Okay, well, it looks like it's 3:30, so I think we can get started. Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Kimker, Chair of the St. Paul Heritage Preservation Commission, and welcome to our June 14, 2021 meeting. The Heritage Preservation Commission reviews applications for projects at heritage sites or within the heritage districts of the City of St. Paul, and it also serves as an advisory body to the mayor and the City Council on municipal heritage preservation matters for the city. All documentation for this meeting is available on the Commission website at www.stpaul.gov/HPC, and no new documentation will be discussed or recognized at today's meeting. Notice of this meeting was posted in the Legal Ledger and sent to the St. Paul Citywide Early Notification System. To sign up for ENS, please visit the city website at www.stpaul.gov. And if you have questions about the notice for this meeting, please contact the HP staff. During the meeting, please mute your microphones except when recognized by the chair to speak. You can unmute from your computer by pressing the microphone button or from your phone by pressing *6. After being recognized by the chair, commissioners and staff will need to state their name before speaking, and everyone else will need to state their name and address before speaking. All deliberation and voting will be done via a roll call conducted by the chair, and staff will be monitoring microphones and muting participants as needed. So with that, I will call for attendance of the commissioners. Commissioner George, are you with us today?
I'm present, thank you.
Commissioner Bazat, you're with us?
Present.
Commissioner Douglas?
Present.
Commissioner Lepke? Commissioner McDonald?
Here.
Commissioner Nelson?
I'm here.
And Commissioner Peroka is not going to be with us today. And Commissioner Wagner? So just one more time for Commissioner Lupke and Commissioner Wagner. Okay, thank you. Then we have an agenda for this meeting, and do I have a motion for adoption of the agenda?
Chair, this is Commissioner Bazat. I so move.
And second on that?
Commissioner George, so moved.
Thank you. So we have a motion for the adoption of the agenda. Is there any opposition to that motion? If not, the agenda is adopted. And then the next item are our minutes from our last meeting on May 17th, 2021. I assume everybody's had the opportunity to review those minutes, and I'd ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
This is Nelson, so moved.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bazat, I second.
Thank you. And any opposition to that motion? If not, the minutes are for the May 17th meeting are adopted. So our first item of business is the public hearing on the 1446 Summit Avenue to demolish the existing garage and construct a 3-car ADU. And that looks like that's you, Mr. Goss.
Yes, thank you, Chair. 1446 Summit Avenue, it's in the Summit Avenue West Heritage Preservation District. The Charles Deether House was constructed in 1906. In the rear yard, there is a 1-stall clapboard-sided garage, which is contributing to the district, and a 2-stall hardboard-sided garage, which is listed as non-contributing to the district. No work is proposed on the main structure or the 1-stall contributing garage. The non-contributing 2-car garage will be demolished to make way for construction of a 2-story, 3-car accessory dwelling unit, which will access the alley. The new outbuilding will be a gable roof structure with shed dormer. Siding will be cement fiberboard, which will match the siding pattern of the main structure. Windows will be clad or alternative material, possibly a Fibrex material, to be determined. And staff did write a condition into the resolution stating that final material selections need to come back to staff for review. The rear of the lot is not readily visible from the public right-of-way. The new proposed structure will be disconnected from the main house. This is the edge of the local historic district. Across the alley, there are several larger structures, but those are outside of the Summit West district. The height and scale of the proposed structure is comparable with accessory structures found along the alley and in the area. Materials will also be visually compatible as well. As designed, the bulk of the ADU will be facing inward towards the parcel. The view from the alley will be of the typical garage. The addition of density in St. Paul via construction of an ADU is encouraged by the St. Paul Comprehensive Plan. So there are a series of guidelines. Let's see, 6 guidelines that are relevant in this case. The alley should be used for garages and parking, and they will be accessing the alley. General principle construction should focus on specific design elements in order to encourage architectural innovation. And this will be distinguishable as new and modern design, but it also is addressing established continuity in the area. Really is only going to be visible from the alley. There's a lot of vegetation in this area. Mass and scale is comparable to other area structures. Materials will correspond to the main structure, but they will be sustainable modern materials. Roof will be a gable. Windows will be compatible as well. So based on the draft resolution, findings, 12 conditions, staff is recommending approval of demolition of a 2-car garage and construction of a 2-story, 3-car accessory dwelling unit at the rear, which accesses the alley. Are there questions?
Do the commissioners have any questions for Mr. Gauss?
This is Nelson. I have one.
Yes, Commissioner Nelson.
I'm just assuming, George, that with our new internal rules in place, that written notice of this proposal has gone to neighbors, and you've heard nothing. Do I have that right?
Correct. Yes. Neighbors within 100 feet of the property line were given notice a week ago last Friday. And this was also sent out via the early notification system for the city, which has about 600 people on it. So, and the neighborhood associations that are active in the area and the district councils have also received notice.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? We have none. Then is there someone from the applicant here to present to the commission on this application?
Hi, can you hear me? This is Tom Schroeder. I'm the owner of the property at 1446 Summit.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Schroeder.
And so, yep. So yeah, this would be the project I submitted. I've been working with George on. And I don't know if there are any other questions that I could answer or that related to this. It's a project working with a builder up on Selby Avenue, custom builders to do, and upon approval, we'd be going forward with the finalization of all the details and quotes on that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Bazat?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Hello, Mr. Schroeder. I just have One, it isn't a big concern, but in taking a look at the alley side, obviously the structure itself will be probably much more compatible with the rest of the district as opposed to the sorry, I was muting my phone, as opposed to the current structure. But that steep roof that accommodates the loft above and that accessory dwelling unit is pretty big because it's steep and there aren't any windows on that side. So it's a pretty blank face. That's just my only reaction to the design. Have you considered maybe putting a couple dormers in there?
Well, there's two reasons I didn't want to necessarily invest in something both from a security standpoint. I do get lots of people walking through the alley, lots of kids, and there has been, vandalism, damage. I didn't want to leave windows open that we're never going to see out of until the unit. There is a opportunity there, but also from the extra cost standpoint, because the viewpoint is just of an apartment building on the other side. But also, eventually, I didn't want to diminish an opportunity for possibly in the future, nothing guaranteed, but that would set it up for if I ever wanted to come forward with an approval for solar energy, then I would have a face that would be able to do that.
Okay.
But that's not, I'm just, the other building's been there for 50 years. But, with the way everything's continually going, it may be something that I may be interested in the future.
The idea of designing a building with potential solar in mind is intriguing. So I appreciate that explanation. I understand about the vandalism, but that would be the windows would be up on a second story. But anyway, that's my only comment, and thank you for your presentation.
Okay.
Any further questions for the applicant?
This is Commissioner McDonald. I have a comment.
Yes, Commissioner McDonald.
It strikes me that the design of this accessory building doesn't have a lot of commonality with the house, particularly in the north elevation. That very long pop-up dormer, especially with the gable motif that pops up from the eave of the dormer. If you look at the front elevation of the house, that eave continues and there's a dormer on top. And I understand trying to create a focus in interior space in the dwelling unit. But if you ran that pop-up dormer course all the way across and put a dormer above it, you could achieve the same thing that I'm looking at. Also, I find those brackets a little bit Victorian as opposed to colonial revival or classical. So I'm wondering if it couldn't be worked a little more to be a little more compatible as an accessory structure to that particular house. That's my comment.
Okay. Well, related to the design end of that, we didn't have a real at this time a real specific drawing, just trying to match the front of the house in concept, but most of it is you see the reference drawing for that last house on the application on page 4 was pretty similar to what we've seen down the block on theirs, and we liked the way it looked. So we can certainly change the railing and the scrolls to be more compatible. But our ultimate desire was to create more space above, which the shed dormers enabled. And so if I understand instead of it, because what our concern is at a 40 by 28 foot, without creating really full space on there, we'd be limited in our ability for renting it out at a prime, eventually when we get it all finished, to rent it out. So that was our primary purpose, was to maximize the space up there, so it could increase our rental value.
Well, thank you. I see an image in the packet of one of the similar buildings you're talking about as an accessory structure. It's got the reddish siding and
Yes.
the yellowish trim, but I think that relates to a different style of architecture of the main house. At least from what I can see in the back of it. And I still think that you could be able to achieve the quality of the second floor you're looking at and some volume and space in there, just adjusting a little bit. And I don't know if that's something you could work with on staff or how to proceed. But again, it strikes me as being not terribly related as an accessory structure to the main house. So I guess I'm holding to my comment.
So I guess the one confirmation and inquiry I have on that is at least the current structure is non-contributing, and there was nothing in that garage, right? It was pretty plain and starting to follow. So at what level would I try to build it then, especially since it's not visible from Summit, to match that motif? But also, I guess it's not clear. I guess I would need some assistance. I don't have a real issue with changing the dormer styles as long as it would increase the cost. Because, part of it is on the backside, when you see the north side, you still won't see it out there because there's a pine tree that is going to be covering most of that actually exists between our main house and this structure. So it is very hidden from anyone but our house or the neighbors. So, but I'm open to that. I will guess I would need some guidance on what kind of changes would make it more match.
Well, I appreciate that. The goal in my mind isn't to replicate the house, but to create some symbiosis between the two so that they sort of belong. And in the future, trees die and the views might open up. I just think it could be better and more compatible. Now, typically we aren't allowed to redesign your project for you. But again, if there is some consultation with staff, I'd be happy to share my views with them as well. And then you could make some judgments about cost issues related to whatever changes we're recommending.
Are there further questions for the applicant?
Chair.
Commissioner Bazad?
Thank you, Commissioner McDonald. That was going to be, some of that was going to be my next query, but also Mr. Schroeder, I wanted to emphasize a point that Commissioner McDonald made for you, that using vegetation as sort of a reason why things might not need to change isn't helpful, because as I am well aware, within the 2 yards of the homes in which we've lived, vegetation doesn't last forever, particularly in 80-mile-an-hour winds or 60-mile-an-hour winds. So that facade, what I'm calling the front facade, the north facade of the dwelling, I agree with Commissioner McDonald, and I would simply urge you to, take some alternatives into consideration, because I think clearly the structure will be an improvement over the current two-stall garage, but it could use a little work from my viewpoint. Just another sort of comment to let you know that there might be a concern there. Thanks so much for listening to our queries.
Okay.
Let me just run through the roll to see if any other commissioners have questions for the staff. Commissioner George?
I have none.
Thank you. And not for the staff, I meant for the applicant, I'm sorry. Commissioner Bazat, any further questions?
No further thanks.
Commissioner Douglas?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Commissioner McDonald, any further questions?
No further comments.
Commissioner Nelson?
Oh, I would just say that Commissioners McDonald and Bazat have raised some interesting points, especially about the possible future visibility of the thing. So I endorse their concerns. That's all.
Okay, thank you. So no further questions for the staff, or for the applicant, I'm sorry. If not, thank you, Mr. Schroeder.
Okay.
Did staff receive any written testimony or comments?
We have not.
Okay, thank you. And are there any members of the public who are interested in participating in this meeting on this application? If there being no further testimony, then I'll close the public hearing at this point, and I will ask for a motion on the application. Is there a motion and a second?
This is Commissioner George.
Yes, Commissioner George.
I would move to adopt the draft resolution which approves demolition of a two-car garage and the construction of a two-story, three-car accessory dwelling unit at the rear of the main structure, which will access the alley at 1446 Summit Avenue as per the findings of fact, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
And this is Nelson. I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Nelson. And I will then open the floor to Commissioner deliberation on the motion. And just so that we can keep a good record of this, I'm just going to first just run through the roll call and we can have our discussion that way, even though it's a little bit more formal. Commissioner George, any comments?
I have no further comment other than to say that I respect Commissioner McDonald and Bazat's comments regarding the design and the actual house design.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bazat?
No further comments except to underline my encouragement to the applicant to re-review the design of the dormer and gable that is considered, I believe, the facade of that new structure. Underlining the points that were made by Commissioner McDonald.
Thank you. Commissioner Douglas?
No further comment.
Thank you. Commissioner McDonald, any further comments?
Yes, I would agree with approval of the building with the proviso that we add that the principal or north facade, the design of it be further investigated with the help of the commission staff.
Well, we would need to have an amendment to the motion for that.
And some more detail. Of
Yeah, I was going to say.
So the brackets and the dormer, if you guys could just talk a little bit more about what you would like to see.
Well, again, that gets into me designing it, but the issues are the roof line of the extended dormer, the nature of the pop-up gable as part of that extended dormer, and the use of brackets. I think those need to be reevaluated, and I'm not sure how to word the amendment, but those are the issues I continue to have.
Sure.
Yes,
If you look at the dormer on the facade of the primary building of the house, they're the type that support the eaves rather than having king post type supports. So that's the kind of thing that to bring it into more compatibility with the original structure with the house and a different texture without losing important space within the loft unit. I think that a lot of, and particularly the dormer itself, you know, it's in a way it's sort of a fake dormer. It's not a dormer. So yes, again, we're designing the making design recommendations, but those are the features that I perceive to be less sympathetic to the house than they potentially could be.
Okay, well, so
Does that help, staff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
so is there somebody that wants to propose an amendment, and then I'll have to see if Commissioner George and Commissioner Nelson accept that amendment to the motion.
But I think, so what I had was that Commissioner McDonald did propose an amendment.
All right.
What I have is that north facade be further refined, looking at roof line, dormer, and the brackets. Does that hit it?
And this is Commissioner McDonald. I think that's fine as a starter, but then I would add what Commissioner Bazat commented to bring the facade, the north facade, into more sympathy with the historic character of the house on the site.
And, you know, maybe stylistic sympathy, does that help?
I think that's fine.
Okay. All right, I'll read it one more time. So what I have is that the amendment will be north facade be further refined, looking at roof line, dormer, and brackets to bring the facade into stylistic sympathy with the main structure.
Sounds good.
Ditto.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonald, Commissioner Bazat. With that amendment, is that acceptable to you, Commissioner George?
Yes, that is acceptable.
And Commissioner Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, so then we have the amended motion. Any further discussion on the amended motion? Let me just run through the roll on that one more time. Commissioner George, any further discussion?
No further comment.
Commissioner Bazat, any further discussion?
No.
Commissioner Douglas?
No further discussion?
Thank you. Commissioner McDonald, any further discussion?
No.
Commissioner Nelson?
I don't think we can do any more than this. So no.
All right. Thank you. Then if the deliberation if that's all the deliberation we have on this amended motion, I will close deliberation and call for a vote on the amended motion. Commissioner George?
Yes.
Commissioner Bazat?
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas? Commissioner Douglas?
She's muted.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you. Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Nelson.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion as amended is passed. So, Mr. Schroeder, staff will be in contact with you to talk about next steps on that then. Thank you
Okay.
for your.
Thank you.
Then our next item of business today is the pre-application for the STEAM building at the University of St. Thomas. And
Yes.
that-
Me as well. I'm the only staff here today, sorry. This is a pre-application discussion. The HPC will not be taking any action on this item. You'll just be giving feedback to the applicants. This site is currently vacant. The University of St. Thomas proposes to construct a new facility on the South Campus. The structure has been designed so that variances of zoning code or building code will not be required. Exterior building materials will be consistent with materials in place at the adjacent St. Thomas, O'Shaughnessy, and Owens Science Halls. There are really 5 guidelines that apply to this in the Summit Avenue West Heritage Preservation District Legislative Code. And of those, which are 4 of those are generally the mass and scale, things like that. But there is one for St. Thomas, and that is section 74.37, new construction guidelines. C, materials and detail. Item 3, the materials and details of new college buildings should relate to the materials and details of nearby contributing college buildings. The College of St. Thomas presents cream-colored Casota stone buildings to the Summit Avenue streetscape. And this ordinance was written at a time when it was still the College of St. Thomas, not the University of. So that hasn't been updated. And looking at the building, the materials will correspond to that on the campus. The other guidelines, for a university institutional building, I mean, it is compatible with the university itself. So are there any questions?
Any questions for staff?
Yeah, this is Nelson. I have one. Yeah, it's clear to me that, as you say, the context now is the rest of St. Thomas University, and they've done, I think, an amazing job of being consistent in their use of stone. Do we know, are they still able to get the same stone, the same Casota stone, I guess, that they've been using all along?
I don't know. That would be a question for Greg Fenton. He's on the call, and
Okay.
we'll call on him in just a second. So.
All right, I'll belay that question until then.
Any other questions for staff? Commissioner George?
No questions at this time.
Commissioner Bazat?
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Commissioner Douglas?
No, I don't have any questions except I know you said in the information that it's the College of St. Thomas and not the University of St. Thomas. And I graduated from the University of St. Thomas and I think it was 2001. And it's interesting that they still have that same language. So it has to be well over 20 years. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Douglas. Commissioner McDonald, any questions for staff?
No questions, just a comment. Under site description, the site is currently vacant. Doesn't really tell the whole story now, does it?
Well, it is.
Commissioner McDonald, I wasn't going to go there.
I wasn't either, but I had to.
Commissioner Nelson, any further questions for staff?
Oh,
Thank you. Did staff receive any, oh,
yeah.
wait a minute. Do we have, let's see. We have somebody from the university here to present on this pre-application.
This is Greg Fenton with BWBR. I'd be happy to answer any questions or elaborate further. Jim Brummer from the university is also on. Commissioner Nelson, your question about the availability of the stone.
Yeah.
There's been no indication that we're not going to be able to get it. Yes, the quarry has been silent for a little bit of time, but it's not because it's depleted.
Where is it exactly?
Southwest Minnesota, Mankato area.
Yeah,
Well,
I know
it's
that
called
much. but-
Mankato Kasota Stone, folks.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Okay, thank you. That's good though. That's good. You've done a great job.
Are there any questions for the applicant from the commissioners? Commissioner George
No, none at this time.
and Commissioner Bazat?
Yeah, none at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Douglas?
No.
Commissioner McDonald?
No.
Commissioner Nelson?
No? I've had my question.
And did staff receive any written testimony or comments on this?
We just received the comments from the Mac Groveland District Council that I had forwarded on to the commissioners this weekend.
Oh, that's right, yes.
That was it.
Okay. And are there any members of the public that are in attendance at this meeting that wish to comment on this pre-application? I guess, do we do this, George? I can't remember.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
I guess I should say that the Mac Groveland District Council supported the design of the building. I should say that as well. So.
Okay, thank you. Any members of the public that are online here that wish to comment on this pre-application? If not, then we will close that discussion of the pre-application. And looking forward to seeing you folks again when we get to the application stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, our last item of business is a motion for an adjournment.
With
Sorry,
the
I have
commissioners,
an announcement. I have an announcement. Hang on, everybody. Everybody's. I have an announcement. I think you want to hear. The city is going to reopen after Labor Day.
All right.
Yay.
when is this? I didn't hear you.
The city will reopen after Labor Day.
Oh.
So we will be back to in-person meeting. I think that's the 14th. Okay, I got to get up there. September. Sorry, I was not prepared for this.
We should all send pictures of ourselves to each other so we remember what we look like.
The meeting that will be on the 13th of September would be our first in-person meeting. City Council Chambers, 3:30.
Thank
Good.
you. I have a question
Thank
about
you.
process. Does the commission not have an internal discussion about that pre-app?
Pre-apps are you just give comments.
I understand, but
You don't do any deliberation back and forth.
no, I know, but my recollection was that some of the comments were included in the minutes after, just as the commissioners discussed things that they might be concerned about, because that's the only venue in which we can do that.
Right. Did you have other comments? Well, we're closed now. I don't think we can
All right.
discuss them.
Well, yeah, I apologize.
This is Commissioner McDonald.
Go ahead.
Yes, Commissioner McDonald.
Yes, I'm sorry Allison and Joe aren't with us. Regarding the preservation stories, I checked with the folks in our office and we'd be more than happy to participate with regard to the Highland Water Tower.
Okay.
But I'm not quite sure how to proceed, and I don't know if I should be just calling Allison and figuring out how we go from here.
I can let Allison know. The next meeting, we're not going to have a formal meeting next time in 2 weeks, but we are going to have a committee meeting. But it's a committee meeting that we're going to invite the entire commission to, because Allison felt like we're going to be, and Allison and Christine apologize. They had some other things to take care of this afternoon. And so we're going to be talking about St. Paul stories, St. Paul preservation stories in detail on the 28th of June. So
That would be helpful.
Education Outreach Committee.
Yes.
The commission meeting.
But the whole commission.
Education
Yeah.
Outreach.
Yeah, we're going to have everybody's going to be part of that meeting, just because Allison has some assignments and she's a taskmaster.
Uh-oh.
I'm only saying that because she's not on the meeting.
Commissioner Douglas, what time, the 28th of June? Do you know?
It'll be normal 3:30 time slot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just as a comment, even though we can't comment, I agree with Commissioner McDonald's statement about the sentence in the pre-app staff report about being a vacant site is not fully descriptive. It's not a full description of the history of the site. I was going to bring my duct tape and put it on, but I didn't.
You can blame me.
And I do.
Okay, so with that, are we ready for a motion for adjournment? Commissioner Bazat?
So move.
Thank you. We have a second on that.
Commissioner Douglas, I second.
Thank you. Any opposition to our motion for adjournment? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.